And we want to get as many men that are out there. And we actually have a lot of women that listen to this show because they write in. But people get this information because, as you said, most women don't know this stuff.
I did not learn this until much later, like late 20s, and just have been diving into it and like trying to understand, which sounds so strange because we're gonna have period for so much of our life, but it's not taught like this at all. And understanding yourself first and foremost allows you to just feel better, and then you can teach your partners and children, and everything just works better.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the TPM Show. And today we are joined by a very special guest, a woman who's very important to me, my beautiful wife, Erin Holt. And Erin, as you guys know, she's been a regular guest on the show, providing a woman's perspective. And Erin also is a coach who coaches women. So women like your wife. So what I want you guys to do is grab a notepad, because today Erin's going to do a deep dive into a subject matter that she has actually brought forth to some of the men in our one-year mastermind group, the Brotherhood, as well as the men in the inner circle. Now, she can't go into all the depth today, but she is going to talk about something that really opened my eyes when I heard this information, and I think it will for you. So grab a pen and paper, and today we're going to talk about women's cycles and what we as men get to know about them. Erin, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me again.
Feels weird calling you Erin.
I know.
Babe, thanks for being here.
Yep. Okay, I wanted to share, like Doug said, about women's cycles, because you have women in your life in the form of a wife, a partner, daughters, mothers, and coworkers, everyone. And it's really mostly would probably focus on today through the phase of knowing your partner's cycles and understanding that. And it puts you in the role, if you actually understand as best you can what's going on with her, in the role of the hero, because these are ways that you can support her. Because it's really hard to understand something if you've never, obviously you guys were never going to have a period. And if you can really start to honor it instead of dread it or just have fear of it because you don't understand it, it's a totally different energy you're going to have inside of you to bring to her. Just understanding that a woman's cycle is roughly 28 to 30 days, the same as the moon. We're very connected to the cycles of the seasons and the earths. And men's cycles are 24-hour cycles. So if you think about yourself, like you wake up in the morning, your men's testosterone is the highest. I think we can all know what happens usually in the morning. And then as you go out throughout the day, most men, I know, Doug definitely does, there's like a lull in the afternoon where his energy is lower. It's harder for him to do some more of the challenging tasks, or it's just like, ooh, this is the phase of not making big choices. I'd rather just nap. That is because men's testosterone drops in the afternoon. And then it starts over all in one 24-hour cycle. It sounds really, really, really nice, actually. Just think about how different you feel in the morning versus the afternoon.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so I want to help these guys out. So why should the guys care? So guys listening to this, right, they all love and respect their partners. This isn't something that's talked about. Let's really, before you dive in, let's talk about what are the benefits to the listener to understanding his wife's or his daughter's cycles. Simply
put, the outcome is if you do this really well, you get to be her hero.
There you go. Let's leave it at that. There's a lot of other benefits, of course, by being your partner. And a lot of the men that have gone through your masterclass that you did, the men were raving about it. That's why we asked you to come on and do it today. Just a little brief synopsis. But what they're finding is with their wives, they were able to communicate, connect at a deeper level. And guys, look, you're going to know if you're monitoring her cycle, when she's going to be the horniest, when she's not going to be. So you can time your intimacy a little bit better. But also men with their daughters, I was really cool to see as a father of a daughter to learn these things so that they could then teach their daughters. And a lot of guys said, hey, my wife doesn't even know this stuff.
Yeah, it's not taught. It's shocking. If I could just scream this from the rooftops so that everybody just knows this, it would be a game changer for most people's lives. Okay, we're going to start with day one of a woman's cycle is when she starts bleeding. Okay. So just think of I will say this, every single cycle out of the 4 weeks, we feel different and it's all due to the change in hormones. It's not because we're crazy. It's not because we're unreliable. It's not because we're moody. every week our hormones are changing. Again, compare how you feel in the morning versus the afternoon. That is due to hormonal changes mostly. Other factors, but let's just stay in the conversation of hormones.
Okay.
When you're bleeding, also for like a further understanding, think of like wintertime. Wintertime, it's like darker, quieter. All the leaves have come off the trees. The leaves have taken all like their water and brought it down into the roots. They're restoring and resting so that when springtime does come, they'll have the energy to grow the leaves again and bring all the nutrients back out to the branches. Similar in a woman's body. This is the time like right before she's bleeding and she's bleeding, support her rest. Her body is working so hard and she doesn't feel that great. There's a lot of energy going out that is unseen. So most women, we will get our normal responsibilities done. And if we are supported in having our more downtime, needing more sleep, like last night, I am getting near this phase. I literally fell asleep on the couch at 7:30.
Yep.
And I could have stayed there all night. Women feel we don't have the energy expenditure that we normally have access to. And if that is supported instead of poked fun at or made to feel like we're less than because we're not producing all these results that we are capable of, but we don't have that energy. And just knowing that the payoff for her, if you encourage her to rest more and support it and maybe take over a little extra with like, order in some dinner, get some things organized that are usually on her plate, support her and just be like, I got this the next couple nights. Like I'll put the kids to bed. She will come back tenfold in appreciation for you, but also her energy will just shoot through the roof because right now she's not feeling her best. And the main thing is just knowing that and do not make fun of her for this. Like making fun of her through this phase it's just not going to produce the result that you want. You will not be her hero. And when she comes out of this phase, it's like she's not going to look at you with stars in her eyes. Whereas if you do support her, she's going to feel so loved and cherished and that you're devoted to her, which is what every woman needs. So you might want to take notes of that right there. Love, cherished, and that she has your devotion. Clear things you can do. Cook and care for the kids a little bit more. It doesn't matter if it's order in. Set a chill vibe. Create a movie night, a game night. Like I call it soul intimacy. Things just like cuddling on the couch with her, rubbing her feet. Just knowing like she does not feel her best right now, physically, emotionally, she just doesn't. And this is also a really big thing you can do as men and be in leadership, be the protector of her energy. Just everything's a little bit harder during this phase. For everything from getting dressed to making choices to even right now, I'm just like, wow, I am feeling more tired than normal. So we're still super capable, but we really would love support in that way, like protecting our energy. If the kids are going nuts, just be like, hey guys, just you need to go in the other room tonight or take them out on a bike ride or whatever. She will very much support that. And then as the end of the period comes, roughly, I mean, every woman's a little bit different. Let's just say day 1 through 5 or 7 is like bleeding / wintertime. Okay. And then usually I would say for me, and I know a lot of other women, around day 3 or 4, my energy really starts coming back. It's almost like, whoa, like somebody gave you like an extra energy key and you're like, oh, wow, there I am. So the next phase, follicular phase, is week 2, just for the phase of like keeping numbers, just say days 8 through 14. This is right after a woman starts bleeding. Her energy is going to be like off the charts compared to how it was when she was right before bleeding and bleeding. I can't even tell you how different we feel. Almost like a different woman in such a good way. It's just like a deep exhale breath is like after bleeding, you're like, oh, because bleeding is deeply cleansing emotionally, spiritually. I talked a lot about this on the masterclass. It's a really big time of refinement for women every month about what's working and what's not. Things become very, very confronting for her. So anyways, that phase is over. This is a time of like, think about spring. Right? It's fun, more energy, flowers are out, trees are budding, animals are out, like everybody's like, woohoo, sweaters are off, let's wear t-shirts, like let's hang out. This is how this phase feels. So picture that. She's like, this is a time, ways you can support her through this phase are courting her, dating her, lead her, set up the date nights, tell her what to wear, get her out, like let her know that like you're like love having her on your arm, like she is coming into feeling very sexual, very horny, wants you, primal energy, wants to feel all of your sexual devotion towards her. Capitalize on this. because our sexual energy goes from pretty low, near 0 to 100, all due to hormones. So know that and lead her, and she will want to jump your brains out and just have fun. So make it a fun time. And also, this is a time with all that energy coming back. It's a space where like dreaming and projects and, I wanted to do that thing or run that race, like support her in her dreams. As most of you know, once you're at the stage of life where you're married or kids or stepkids and all the things, it's so awesome and it's so busy. And usually for partners to fulfill dreams, that it takes a lot of compromise and, just be willing to support her in whatever it is. If she wants to run that race, running in early in the mornings and maybe do breakfast with the kids 4 days a week. I don't know, just things like that. This is a next phase. We're going into ovulation. Ovulation can technically be broken into 2 different phases, but this is like, let's just say, we're going into days 15 through 21. The first phase, let's just say she is extra horny because biologically this is when she can get pregnant. Okay. Also, if knowing that, teach everybody that needs to know this in your life that this is a time to be very careful if you do not want anybody getting pregnant. I did not know this until you and I were trying to have babies, which sounds crazy. This is not taught, at least was not taught. So yeah, teach your people, and also be aware. This is like, you get to be her king during this phase. Ovulation, like she's in her peak. Like think about this. This is just like the peak of the cycle. Everything is super heightened for her, physically, sexually. This is a time for hot, down, dirty, like let's enjoy each other, take her type sex. Really fun. This week, this ovulation week leading up, like during like the bleeding phase and right before bleeding, particularly if you're just aware that she's more tender and not feeling well, if you really honor that and rest in supporting her, really big payoff will come in ovulation because she's going to feel like your support and like you were leading her as her man and understanding what is happening as best you can inside of her. And then when she feels better and is like really feeling attracted to you, and like it's just going to come back to you tenfold. Everything on her body is heightened. Let's just say that. And then also, this is always yes, but especially during this time because her smell is heightened. These are all biological reasons because looking for a mate to have a baby with, right? Pay attention to how you smell, how you dress, how you present yourself. Put in a little extra effort around this time. She's going to notice. She always notices, and it's going to feel extra during this time of the month. And she also this time of the month is when it's fun, like follicular and ovulation phase. It's when it's fun for her to like get more dressed up, like wear that dress, wear that, sexy outfit she feels really good in. And like, of course she wants you to notice her. Yeah, her friends and everything, but she wants her man to notice. So pay a little more attention to grooming yourself during this phase. She will notice. And kind of the second phase of ovulation it's more like a queen-like stage for her, like Cleopatra. It's more like looking out over her land and contemplating, and intuitive powers are always high, but they're a little extra high. And she's like, okay, ready to take action in these areas. I know this needs to happen now. So sometimes for men, I think you guys are like, let's go quick action, which is awesome. That's men's leadership. And sometimes with me, I think you almost get annoyed. Like, wait, I need a choice. And I'm like, I'll know when I know. And that's how it works for a lot of women. It's like, I'm gathering information, I'm gathering intuition, and the second I know, it's on, like, I know it's clear, everything will get handled. So that's a way you can honor the way most men and women operate differently. Like my mom used to say, like, like when she knows, and she's off. Like there's no questioning once a woman knows about what needs to be done. It's just like a wise leadership mode. These 2 phases, as far as like, these are really good phases that are usually go as well as possible to talk about more of the heavy things. Finances, relationship things you want to update, agreements, parenting, diving into some topics that can get heated, and just really, usually there's a good solution phases. On that note, not the best time to talk about these types of things right before she's bleeding, because she's so tired and doesn't have the usual bandwidth that she does have, but also internally it's a super big processing time for her. Things are coming up that need to be confronted inside of her and inside of her life, inside of her marriage, inside of her parenting. It's a really big personal processing time. Can we talk then? Yes. Will it go as well as possible? Not always. But that's not because anything's wrong with us. It's because we're different. And if you can support that, that'd be a really, really cool thing in partnership you can do. Luteal phase. This is the week right before the period. Okay. This is when everything, hormones shift once again. Okay. This is a phase where most women were starting to feel more sluggish. We're starting to slow down. We're starting to not want to be social, more like come into our cave. And it's a really strong feeling. We are getting ready to bleed again, really. So it's kind of like our firewalk week. This is like I just mentioned, this is where our deepest concerns in our life come up, rise to the surface to be evaluated and looked at. And it can be a really potent time if we know that as women. And just also know that like we are supposed to do this. This is how we're all here. I used to resist going through these cycles, and I would be like, why do I feel so different every week? Like, what's wrong with me? And just try and push through. And then it actually makes a lot of symptoms worse. So knowing this, even as a woman, you can honor yourself and teach your daughters that this is all normal. So ways men you can support her during the luteal phase, the week right before her period. Stay steady and consistent. This is like her fire walk week where things are just really potent and fiery inside of her. Be a steady earth energy. Be grounding. Be calm. Be like, just come up and hold her and just like know that she can count on you. This is a great time for you yourself to get projects done around the house that do not require input from her. But like she like wants you around, but she also needs space, but she wants your energy there. Or maybe some women will say like they need more space than others. So you get to talk to your partner. This will support your masculinity, getting those projects done, whatever, using the saw, using the whatever you're doing. I don't know, man stuff. And also will relieve some of her stress. And if there's, like I mentioned before, if there's like hot spots that come up where it's like a repeating conversations and not the best week to dive into them. It's like a really masculine leadership thing you can do is be like, this is a really big topic, really important. Let's talk about it in a week. And that's like top level masculinity right there, being able to lead her out of, because part of her is going to want to dive into it, but also she might not be at her best. I know I'm not. And also understand towards the end of this phase and right before she bleeds, it literally almost some weeks feels like survival mode. Some women I know, like you almost feel like you have low grade flu. You're so tired. It's a time that she really just needs junk eliminated from her life as far as like emotional junk, like or self-sabotaging behaviors. Because as women, we have this constant internal GPS of like keeping a pulse on our people, that they're happy, that they're safe, that they're good, that they feel good. So if some of that is just, if things are getting in the way of like that just feeling easy for her in the form of like cooperation or not cooperation or like big financial conversations like that, that's why it's like the things will feel extra chaotic for her. So, and threatening, which will leave her not feeling safe, which we all know it's really important for women to feel safe with their men. So anyways, all of that to say, this is a time to just really be steady with your energy.
Hey guys, I wanted to interrupt this episode because it's dawned on me that many of you guys aren't aware that we actually have a book on how to save your marriage without talking about it. Now, thousands of men have read it, they've reviewed it, and I want to give you the opportunity to do the same. If you're interested in grabbing it, it's a short read, but it's helped a lot of men just like you. And maybe you're not interested in the activation method yet, but this is a small entry point that can really turn things around for you. Go over on Amazon. We have it priced as cheap as Amazon will let us. And that way you have a resource that you can use right now to start getting some results in your marriage. Now let's get back to the episode.
And have your act together, basically. This is an active partnership. This is a week to just have your act together. Just be easy, reliable, steady. She's bloated. She's not feeling her best. And this is a really sweet time to like, I know for me at least, and a lot of women, like I mentioned before, like if you just honor that she doesn't maybe want to be a social, or that it's harder, or maybe you do have a really important event that you need to get to, like just allowing her more time to get ready and honoring it. And like, this is a week where I think a lot of women, and it's like societal, like been a lot of made fun of PMS and bitchy and blah, 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 blah. And I used to think all these things and hear all these things. But if you could just change your internal attitude and like, this is not a time to like, to put that on her. And the reason is because A, it doesn't feel good, but like the result you want is to be her hero, right? And as I mentioned, she comes out of this right into the next phase every month. Energy comes back. A lot of her like hormonal shifts bring on board like, wow, I really want my man. I feel really supported by him. And she's going to want you if you're really honoring and knowing what's going on for her this phase and not poking fun of her. This can be really, really, really beneficial for couples for knowing this knowledge and yeah, really being able to capitalize on supporting her, leading her, and your sex life.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. I know this is eye-opening for me and I use it. So I'm thinking of the common questions the guys have brought to me around your masterclass that you did and everything else. So one was, gosh, how do I know my woman's cycle?
Yeah. What we did, and it works really well for us, is I use an app called Stardust. There's hundreds of apps out there, but I prefer this one. It's easy. And I can share it with Doug so he knows where I am in my cycle. And what it sends text updates. They're not annoying. They're pretty cool for me. They're really funny for Doug.
They're hilarious, guys. Like I'm trying to see if I have one now, but they talk to me like a guy. So I'll read today's if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I don't even know what it says.
I don't either. I just looked right now. It says, today Erin is like a phone on airplane mode. Functional, but less reactive than usual.
Yes, I'm right about to bleed. I feel I could go home and nap and just sleep.
You
the
were
rest
exhausted
of the day.
this morning. You went to bed so early and then you woke up late. Yeah. But I mean, when I'm sharing with the guys, for me, that's kind of a funny, witty, because as men, we like to joke a lot. And you just said, don't make fun or poke fun at things. I think there's a time and place in the way you do it. You know, some women are going to be more receptive than others. Some are going to be more sensitive than others. But I think the app is a great way. I like the start. I mean, maybe they all do that, but I'm guessing not.
I don't know.
Yeah. The guys I've talked to, they're like, oh, wow. When I describe that this app sends kind of little funny quirks, quirps and things like that to me. Quips, that's the word I'm looking for. It just makes it lighter, right? And I know where you're at. I can look at it real quick. An alert pops up on my phone periodically. It's not annoying, but then I can help you navigate through that, and I understand what's going on more when I follow your cycle. And it also tells me what's coming up, right? I can look at it, and it gives me a rough predictor of the days and the weeks to come.
We also have, not every time, but sometimes we have planned vacations around my cycle the best we can.
We do that often.
We try and make that happen
for good reasons.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing, guys, also to think about. One thing that you were saying earlier was big conversations or date nights or specific things you want to do. We always tell the guys, as much as you can, you should do a weekly date night. You and I have a date night tomorrow, right? So me knowing what your energetic, where you are energetically will will allow me to plan the type of date that we'll go on very differently than it would be, say, 2 weeks from now.
Yes.
Right? It'd be two totally different scenarios.
Yes.
For obvious reasons.
The other thing I wanted to hit on that I get asked a lot is, what if my partner is on birth control? So what birth control does, whatever kind it is, there's so many different forms now, is it stops ovulation so that a woman cannot get pregnant. She will still cycle. Her hormones still will fluctuate, not as much. But it's been a long time because my body did not like any of those birth control pills or anything. But she will still cycle. If a woman actually tunes in, whatever birth control she's on, she would feel like some women don't have periods on birth control. You can feel like, oh wow, this is when I would be bleeding, because she'll have symptoms. They might be toned down, but she'll feel more tired or bloated or just like a little bit like, why is it so hard to get dressed? Like my pants aren't fitting like they normally do. Like everything just kind of changes there for those few days, and it's harder. So even if she's on birth control, she is cycling, and it's just not as big usually.
Some of them are separated, right? Or their partner, they're not living together right now as they're working on their marriage or their relationship. Are there other clues these guys can have? So let's say it's their wife or their partner, and they're going through their stuff. And he's probably not going to say, hey, do you track your cycle? can you share it with me? That might not be the point of the conversation they're at this stage. Although for you gentlemen that are in a good relationship, that's pretty much how you should have that conversation and do it through a point of care and inquisition, not like you're questioning because you're curious. Curiosity is a word. Yeah, I guess the question is how can these guys who are separated or are in the point where their relationship isn't where they want it to be, so they either can't or don't feel comfortable asking that question, what are some clues for them to pick up on our cycle so they can start recording it?
If you start paying attention, it's pretty obvious. A woman who's ovulating, she feels more attractive. Her hormones are like setting off energy of like attraction, and it's just like noticing, and she wants to be out, and she's putting more energy into, whatever she does, hair, makeup, dress, fun shoes, etc. And all that feels fun and like she wants more like a summer energy, right? Like she wants to be out. Versus like on the opposite end of the spectrum, the woman is like right in that luteal phase, right before she's about to bleed, beginning of bleeding. Like we just don't have the energy. Like a woman's energy will feel different because her hormones are like at the lowest. She doesn't have the bandwidth for the conversations, the bandwidth for like going out to events or even dinners or things. It's a really big internal time. So it's like, those are the two most drastic parts of the cycle of just kind of pain. And also it's like, for me personally, I know a lot of women, it's like, I like want to just wear more comfy clothes and like a sweatshirt. And like, of course I'm going to dress up to go out to do whatever I get to do. But at home, the second I get home, I'm like, I just want to be comfortable. I want to be cozy. I want my sweatshirt. I want my whatever.
You'll say, I'm going to put my comfies on.
I'm going to put my comfies on. And it's like, that is what feels better. So.
Yeah. Awesome. So let me tell you what some of the other guys do. So some of the guys that go through the program do is if for whatever reason, either their wife doesn't want to share it or they're not at a place where they feel comfortable talking about it, they can also download an app like Stardust and start using the clues that you're giving here to start predicting over time when their wife's cycle or partner's cycle could be. So if they start to notice that, gosh, I'm interacting with her, she seems more tired, they can start just taking note of that and then notice when she comes into her spring or summer what that is and noting that. We have a number of guys who just actively, unbeknownst to their partner, track their wife's cycle. And they use that information to help support them and their marriage going forward. Yeah. And over time, what I've seen is when they do this, obviously, if they're supporting their partner, they become closer, right? It's a natural rhythm of things, if you will. And us guys, we like data. We want information. Give me the instruction manual.
Well, this is like the cheat sheet. This is going to happen for many, many, many years of your partner's life. Like, working with it instead against it will do nothing but benefit both of you.
Exactly. And so if, guys that have this now cheat sheet or the manual, they can schedule, like you said, vacations, dates, conversations. So if you're in a really bad part in your marriage, your relationship, bring up these conversations. I shared a message with you right before we hit record. One of my one-on-one clients sent to me. Like there's certain times to share these kinds of things, certain messages.
As best as can.
Yeah, as best as can, of course. Of course. But there's certain things that you want to plan out, and this is a great way of doing it. And it's gonna help her as well.
Big time.
Let's talk about real briefly the benefit, switching gears a little bit, because even if a man's marriage doesn't work, but he has a daughter, he's going to be with her forever. Yeah. And that's such a beautiful thing, right? So let's talk about what this could mean for the dads out there and how they can support whatever age their daughter is.
Yeah, it would be literally life-changing for your daughter. This was not normal when I came into age of having my period at all. It was like, keep it secret, keep it hush. Like, it's annoying. It gets in the way. There's like weird shame around it, even though half the population does it and it's how we're all here. It's so strange to me, and it is shifting. So actually the masterclass I did, almost half of the questions were for dads and daughters. Like, how can I support it? I have like 10, 11, 12-year-old girls. They're right there. And being able to have two parents that she can go to and feel safe having conversations with, like a dad that understands what's going to be happening to her and support it and be able to hold the energy too, to have a conversation with her about it and let her know that you're a safe place to come. Some of the conversations are about dads that were separated, so they have their daughters half the time. He's like, okay, so I need to have supplies at my house. Absolutely have supplies at your house for her, whatever we're using, pads, tampons, cups, and be able to be comfortable knowing those conversations and what you need to have to support her. Have a change of clothes. I'll be honest with you, I am a grown-ass woman. And I still bleed too sometimes because you got to think differently, you got to plan differently. Another thing we talked about that I didn't hit on, days 1 through 3-ish, usually for most women, the bleeding is heavier. You have to plan, be in your bathrooms, you got to plan when you're changing what and what you're doing. You just got to learn to think differently. And also when you become a teenage girl, like that's really hard. That's really hard to learn how to operate in the world when you have a period because everything changes. So being able to have a conversation with, and like if she does have an accident or bleed or out or whatever, like just have a change of clothes and also teach your sons and daughters, never, ever poke fun at a girl if she has an accident and then you can see blood on her pants. Like give her your sweatshirt, let her tie it around her. Like it is mortifying. And to be able to be a safe place and be like, oh, no big deal. I have a change of clothes for you. We'll find the closest bathroom, right? Like, and just be a safe place for her. It'd be game changing for her if she could have that.
I love it. And at TPM, our mission this year is to save 10,000 children by saving their fathers first. And sometimes people go, what do you mean? This is what I mean, right? Men having this type of information to help their daughters. And you got emotional when you talked about it.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It's a huge deal as a woman, growing up. And most of us as guys, we joke, that's just how we deal with things oftentimes. But what a great way also, guys, Erin just said, hey, this is the cheat sheet, guys, for a woman. What if you teach your sons this too?
Absolutely.
So they can, as they go out in the world, whatever age they're at, they can understand what's going on. It's so interesting that our society is almost puritanical that we just don't discuss this. It's a bad thing or what have you, even though it's natural. But this is such a great tool that people can utilize and have. Now, you put together for the masterclass, you put together a couple cheat sheets that are in there. One of them actually describes the cycles, and if I recall, and I'm going off my memory, because I read them and they were really, really good, and I have them saved. And the other one was how you can actually show up. Is that correct? Yeah. So, guys, if you're interested in getting that cheat sheet on the cycles, if that's okay, if I go ahead and email VIP, that's a very important person, at thepowerfulman.com, and we'll get you a copy of that. So our team will get there. Make sure they understand, just say you want the cycles that Erin talked about in the podcast, and they'll get that out for you. So it's VIP at thepowerfulman.com coming through. And we want to get as many men that are out there, and we actually have a lot of women that listen to this show because they write in. But people get this information because, as you said, most women don't know this stuff.
I did not learn this until much later, like late 20s, and just have been diving into it and like trying to understand, which sounds so strange because we're gonna have period for so much of our life, but it's not taught like this at all. And understanding yourself first and foremost allows you to just feel better, and then you can teach your partners and children, and everything just works better.
Yeah, it really does. And something I know about most of the men that listen to this show is they love women, right? That's one of the reasons they're here. And they want to show up in their most powerful way for the women in their lives. Now, guys, this also can work with your coworkers, right? And women's cycles sync, right? Talk a little bit about that real quick before I go into how this could help the guys.
I believe like hormones are the most powerful thing on the planet. So I have, in many different situations, it's been years since I've had roommates. It's far as like female friends, but like college and everything, like we would be in a household and almost 80-ish% of us would sync up, and we'd be having periods at the same time and cycle through. And like when we first moved in, we were kind of, whatever, off cycles. I don't know how to describe it. It's just that powerful.
Yeah.
And once you can understand, it's actually really sacred to know your cycle. And I mentioned it briefly in the beginning. I went deeper into it before on the masterclass, but like, I think it's pretty magical. A woman's cycle mirrors energetically the cycles of the seasons and time-wise the cycles of the moon, and each cycle of the moon, which is different each week, the energy of that moon, whether full moon, crescent moon, waning moon, waxing moon, the energy of that moon cycle mirrors the different cycles of a woman's cycles.
It is pretty cool.
Pretty magical. We're very disconnected from it in our culture in general. There are women that are very connected to it. It's why one of the things a period is called is a woman's moon cycle. And that's why like our energy and cycles match the moon.
And I'm speaking to these guys that are out there that just want the hacks,
Mm-hmm.
right? So imagine if at your workplace, right, you have 10 women working together. There is a chance that those women will sync if they're always together in the office.
They're together enough, yeah.
Yeah, there's a very good chance. And so the men that listen to us who are business leaders,
Mm-hmm.
they will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to increase productivity
Mm-hmm.
out of their staff, their team, to raise the bottom line, to get the most out of their workers, create a great culture, a great work environment. Men go to classes, they'll go to classes from Harvard or anything else. But if you have women in there that are syncing, imagine if you could ethically know their cycles. You know, you got to you work with your own HR on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know them, then you can support the women through these cycles and coordinate projects, coordinate the types of food, the bathroom situation. Like here at the ranch, we have extra supplies for women should they visit, right? So making sure you have that. But if you're coordinating the productivity, you talked about, hey, the second and third week, those are when, you know, women are the most productive. That's when
It's easier.
yeah,
It feels much easier.
that's what I mean
Yeah.
by the most productive. Obviously, you can grind anything out
Absolutely.
and what have you.
Yeah, yeah.
But for men, I want the guys that work for me to work in their flow state as much as possible. So if that means Colton works in the evenings, but Chris works in the mornings, fine. And then I'm going to talk to them during those times.
Maximize, yep.
Yeah, maximize what works for them.
Yep.
So why wouldn't we do the same thing from a woman's cycle?
That would be
standpoint?
incredible. I know women, and this isn't saying anything, but this is an awesome conversation you're having as a men's company. But there are I know many women entrepreneurs who have businesses, many different sizes. They plan their business and their, retreats and their different cycles around mainly the owner's cycle, but most women with them sync up.
Yeah.
So it makes
Smart.
Yeah. It just makes everything work better.
It's just intelligent, right? To know this, you're just having more tools in the tool belt, and you're increasing it. It's always so interesting to me, and I say this a lot as a business guy. I just got off a meeting with our marketing and operations team, and we would invest a lot of money educating our team in a tool that we just bought, but yet here men are in their relationships. Now the guys listening to this are different because they're here with us, but they don't invest the time or resources into bettering that, learning more about relationships, learning more about each other, and actually taking those skills to go through. And that's why, guys in the brotherhood and the inner circle had the benefit of having, you do a woman's perspective call for those guys, but having a deep dive. You did 4 weeks on
Yep.
this.
Yep.
Let
Different
alone-
women's topics. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much for what you're doing.
Thank
you. So if men are interested, if they have a woman in their life and they're interested in coaching with you, what's the best way for their wives or partners or daughters to get
Yeah.
hold of you? You recently were working with one of the guy's daughters. I think she was 16. Absolutely amazing. To have you and someone like you guiding them at such an influential age. How can they reach you?
Best way is Erin at sweatdirtandsoul.com. That's SOUL.com. Will I get put in the notes?
Yeah, we'll put that in the notes. So it's Erin at sweatdirtandsoul.com to get there. So awesome, babe. The work you're doing is amazing. I'm learning every time, and I'm so excited to hopefully apply this with you. I do my best. Hopefully I'm doing okay, but also with our daughter, making sure that she has that as I continue to educate and learn more.
All right, thank you.
Gentlemen, as I always say in the moment of insight, take massive action. And what I mean here is you are literally getting a cheat sheet, right? This has been phenomenal for me personally and hundreds of the other men that are in the movement. So this is your chance, your opportunity. Rewind, go back and listen to this. Email VIP@thepowerfulman.com. Let them know that you want the cycles cheat sheet. That's what I'm going to call it. That's not the title, guys. I don't remember what it exactly is called, but go ahead and do that. It's on a whim. I want to make sure you guys have this at your disposal. Like, we're here to help you. We're here to create a movement of men, of empowered men who are out there embracing what it means to be a modern day man out there, leading your family, leading your partner. And also, guys, this is time to lead yourself. So if you're interested in finding more about the activation method and how it could help you, make sure you go over to thepowerfulman.com. You can get more information there, boys. But whatever you do, take some massive action. Don't go from one podcast to another. This is your call to do this. Bring this information that Erin has shared with you into your life with your partner, into your life with your daughters, and into your life with the other women that are in your world. In fact, you could share this with them. As Erin said, most women just don't know this. It's not taught in schools and it's not talked about often. So share this episode with somebody you care about and have a conversation that matters. Until next time, we'll see you on the TPM show.